You're listening to Charting the Future, a podcast for independent pediatricians by PCC. For more information about our software and services, please visit www.pcc.com or visit us on social media.
Welcome back, friends, to Charting the Future, the podcast from PCC, where we interview and hang out with cool pediatricians, independent pediatricians from around the country whose origin stories we find interesting or fun. Actually, they're all interesting to me. So I actually suffer from having too many people I want to speak to. Today, I'm speaking to Dr. Anna Groebe from Bloom Pediatrics in Michigan, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her practice. So hello, Dr. Groebe. How are you?
Hi, Tip. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. The first question I ask everyone is to tell us, who are you? What do you do? Where do you practice? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your practice and how you got there.
Sure. So, as you alluded to, I am an independent pediatrician. I'm currently in Metro Detroit, in Michigan, and I've lived here my whole life. So I trained here. After training, I was an employed physician in a small to medium size independent pediatric group. And it wasn't quite the right fit for me, so I changed practices. But I've always loved general pediatrics. I never wanted to do a fellowship or specialize because I love all the things that come with just doing general peds. And I currently work in the community where I live, and we are currently on our fourth location. And I split my time between the two locations of the four that we currently own with my co-owner, Dr. Katie Schaefer.
All right. So tell me a little bit more about working for someone and owning your practice. I mean, what drove you to become an owner?
Sure. So right out of residency, the learning curve is pretty steep. So there was a significant amount that I felt like I didn't know and quickly learned. But what's challenging being an employed physician is you don't have a whole lot of autonomy. And very specifically, the physician that employed me was not a very flexible boss. There was no autonomy. There was no flexibility in the schedule. We were given almost no input as to, how we practiced, the hours we practiced, how we took care of our patients. If we wanted to change things, if we wanted to do the most current, to follow all of the American Academy of Pediatric guidelines, that wasn't always well received. So I was there for about 4 years. And then I left to join another group where I was employed until I wasn't employed. So I tried to show my natural ability to lead pretty early and do the best by our patients and follow the guidelines and follow the science. And luckily, the second place I was employed was very receptive to that and very willing to sort of let me buy in as a partner. And then once I became a partner, we gained another partner, and some of the elder physicians have since left the practice. And we basically have just grown more and more and more organically, trying to always take the best care of all of the patients.
So if that answer was as though I gave you a script, you said all the key trigger words like autonomy. I think that's fantastic. I will say this, your practice has had and continues to have, I think, the most fantastic organic growth of any practice I've ever seen.
Thank you.
And I don't know, I've been doing this for a long time, so I've seen a lot of practices. So and I attribute that to the culture of your practice.
COVID was a pretty pivotal time where a lot of offices in the Metro Detroit area, we're a heavily saturated market. There are tons of pediatricians. I mean, you could throw a stone and, just hit one out of almost all of the parking lots. So it is heavily saturated area. But during COVID, a lot of the offices, and to no fault of their own, just did not know what to do or did not know how to be flexible or adapt. And we were able to sort of pivot and change and move quickly. We were willing to see sick kids when some of the other offices nearby us were not. And so I think that made a huge difference to the patient population, that they could still call and be seen for cold symptoms or ear infections or the baby's not sleeping. And a lot of the local offices nearby us were not willing to see sick kids. And we saw sick kids and we adjusted our schedule and we made sick providers, or we saw kids in the parking lot. Like we, put on our PPE like we were told, and we climbed into the backseat of SUVs. I mean, we did anything and everything to try to care for the kids of Metro Detroit. And so that alone, I think, gave us like a great reputation in the community. It made people realize that, we were in it for the families and we were going to help. And we were really just trying to do the best we can. And we did, I think, a very good job of keeping our employees safe, which I also think is very important. But that allowed us to grow quite quickly. And then, along with that, then we were given COVID vaccine after much negotiation with the local health department. We said, let us help you. Our large local hospital is about 3 miles south of our an initial location, and they were doing the best they could trying to get vaccine into the community, but they were only seeing high risk or 65 and older, or healthcare providers. And we said, like, we can get this done faster and safer and quickly. Like, let us do it. We have the room, we have the staff, we have the knowledge. Let us have the vaccine. And they did. And I think that also really caused a ton of growth, because then a lot of patients that wouldn't have otherwise walked into the door in our doors walked in, got COVID vaccine, got to meet our faces. I mean, almost all of our providers were at almost every single COVID clinic. So, we would greet the patients, we would give them balloons, we would, smile and say, thank you for coming and stay safe and all of the things, right? So I think that also helped. Like, we did put in a ton of work during COVID. And so I do think that also helped a lot of our growth. And I do think we take very good care of the patients, and we offer some things maybe some of the other local offices nearby do not offer. And so by doing that, I do think it has really helped our reputation and helped us to grow very, very much organically. We do very little in terms of advertising. We do a lot of community engagement, but we really, don't necessarily advertise per se.
Well, one trait, perhaps the most important trait that I think your practice shares with other successful practices, is that you're not afraid. You don't.
Well, there's a lot of fear. We just don't show it.
But you're not afraid to try things.
Sure.
You're not afraid to say yes. And your practice, as much as any practice in the country, you were the first in line to say, we want to give COVID, we want to give Beyfortus, and those practices. I mean, we have other practices who have similar philosophy to you, mm-hmm. and they have all done really well. And I think that's there's a lesson in your growth that other practices could learn from. All right.
Sure,
so,
yeah.
Well, thank you. That was an excellent summary of your practice. So let me ask you right now, I'm going to ask you a tough question.
Sure.
What are you worried about right now? What keeps you up at night?
Vaccine preventable illness.
It's like I gave you a script.
No, I mean, full disclosure, we did not have any conversation about what we would be discussing. But, I am very, very anxious about the community. I was speaking with one of our medical assistants today. We gave MMR to a 10-month-old that's about to get on an airplane, to travel south in 2 weeks. And, I said to the parents, I said, if this were my baby, this is what I would do. And here's why. And it terrifies me that we don't actually have good visualization on what is happening in some of the communities. We know measles numbers are up, but I don't believe have a full extent of the knowledge, because I don't think some of the states are necessarily reporting the way they should or could. I think some of those families maybe aren't even seeking medical care. And so it really does terrify me, like, what do the actual measles numbers look like? And how long will it be until polio gets here? And that really does keep me up at night.
We used to have to give travel guidance to people going to third world countries, and now we have to give travel guidance depending on what state they might be visiting for Thanksgiving.
Sure. And unfortunately, the borders between the states are not hard.
No.
The airplanes go everywhere. And even though there have been a lot of travel snafus recently, it does It does make me worry. And it makes me, I think the sequelae of some of these illnesses is not clear to the general public. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
they realize, their child could go deaf from measles, what that will look like to an otherwise able-bodied child to suddenly lose their hearing. And so these are the things that I fear.
Yep. I'm with you. I think about this all the time, and it infuriates me that we are, I don't know what to call it, diluting, not diluting, but diluting
Mhm.
all of the science. This like what's the difference between us and the animals? I think it's scientific method,
Sure.
and we're anyway we're getting rid of it. All right, so that's what's keeping you up at night. What's
Mhm.
exciting you? What are you looking forward to the next couple of years?
Oh, that is a harder question. I am definitely not the visionary in my practice. So it is hard for me to see into the future and think what will become. My hope is that, our offices continue to grow and expand and provide excellent care. My hope is that we can fight some of the disinformation that is out there by constantly trying to educate the families and be in the community, and sort of, play an active role in the children's lives, and that the parents trust us and not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily trusting, strangers or influencers or anyone else that might be, sort of having their ear right now.
Today I was trying to I've been thinking a lot about AI in our business, and when I talk to my clients and I think about AI, everyone immediately leaps right into how is AI going to help me with my charting? Because that's
Sure.
it's such a chore, right?
Sure.
But I almost feel like AI. Well, no, I don't almost feel like I know that the AI is going to have a profound impact in all these other places in your job, and
Hmm.
I'm looking forward to that stuff. I'm waiting for, and it's going to be sooner than we expect. When you go to sign that note, okay, and you say, "All right, this is here's my diagnosis and everything," and the EHR says to you, "Hey, by the way, whenever we see a kid with these three symptoms, we also like to send out for this lab." Just
Sure.
the
Yeah.
little thing, because that also keeps all the pediatricians I know are just afraid all the time of not getting a perfect score,
Mm.
you know,
Sure.
and it's impossible. Um,
Sure. Yeah. I think it would, it would be awesome if we had some smart coding that would say like, oh, by the way, you really should bill this as a 99214, and here's why. Here's the criteria that
so
you
I'm
clearly already
that makes
outlined.
me
That would be
nervous.
amazing.
Yeah, no,
Right?
that makes me nervous.
Sure.
Um, but you know what? I'll tell you. You take what you just said. I'm going to do the inverse. Hey, you said this is a 99214. I don't think it is.
Sure.
And here's why I'm putting it this way. At the end of the day, when you submit that claim, it's your digital signature on that claim. You're the one who loses money or goes to jail if it's
Right.
wrong. If
Right.
I give you a bunch of bad advice through the computer, I mean, you can sue us, but it's whatever.
Sure.
It's and so that always makes me nervous. But I start with, okay, well, for a 99214, you need to jump through these hoops, or even for a 391, you need to jump through these hoops.
Sure.
And having the computer say, someone auditing this isn't going to like it. That's where I'm going to start.
Sure.
But we'll
Yeah.
see. All right. When here's my last question for you. If you could give advice to your younger self, to that kid, because you were a kid when you graduated from residency,
Mm.
what advice would you give?
Ooh, that excellent questions you're posing, right? Excellent questions. That's somewhat profound because I often think like, what would I have done different? Very specifically, I'm going through this with my children. I have twins that are seniors in high school, and I've been able to reflect on their high school careers much more so than enough to do on my own. And I often wonder, like, what would I have done different? How could I have better set them up for success? So, to reflect on my own career, right? Should I have done different? That's tricky. I feel like I pride myself on being a relatively hard worker. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I don't know that I would have changed necessarily my first experience. I think I did learn a lot being employed. I think I would tell myself, to continue to be brave, that it's all going to work out. And, it's okay to take risks. I think I'm very much not a risk taker intentionally. So I think sort of just that added cushion of it's okay to take the risk. It's okay to do things that I'm not 100% sure of the outcome, but I'm not sure anything I would have done, would potentially be different. I'm also a strong believer that the universe kind of puts you where you belong, maybe not on the timetable that you appreciate. But I do think, there is sort of this ultimate situation that happens, and generally that's where you end up.
I was thinking myself about how would I answer that question, and the risk-taking part I think comes up. It came up for me, and it just came up for you, and I think it really comes up for a lot of people in our industry.
Mhm.
More so for you, because when you raise your hand when you get out of residency or when you get out of med school, it's first do no harm. It's like wired into you, like your job description. Don't
Right,
take risks,
right. Don't make
and
it bad.
right,
Right.
exactly. Don't make a bad thing worse. The funny thing is, I think your practice, as well as any practice I know, distinguishes between doing no harm in an exam room and having fun or taking a chance as a business.
Mhm.
You just said you mentioned at the beginning you're up to 4 locations.
Yes.
How long? How long? How many locations are you adding per year right now for the last 3 years?
Well, we've added two this year,
Yeah. Okay.
which were like a little bit like intentional and a little bit accidental.
Yep.
If I had laid out the master map, I would have preferred our third location grow for another year or two before we took on the
Right.
fourth. All
Right.
transparency, right? But sometimes, an
Opportunity
opportunity
presents itself.
presents
Yeah.
itself. Like the door opened, it was very much for us to choose to walk through the door. And I have an awesome partner, and we sort of held hands and walked through the door. It is hard to say like, okay, this is not the safe thing to do. It probably was the smart thing to do, but it very much, is a risk, and we don't know if it's going to pay off. We anticipate it'll pay off. I am always willing to put in the work to make it pay off, and I think that's why our office has been so successful. Those of us that know us, my partner and my personality are very, very opposites. And so she can see the vision, and I see nitty gritty details. And, she has sort of like the big picture goal, and I'm sort of more like the boots on the ground, kicking the dirt out of the way. So I think that's why it works. But I think it very much takes both, to sort of have that complete picture to move the ball forward.
Yep. So I. But every response you've given me is like just played right into my mentality, because you used the word that I think I'm going to be using more and more, and that's just the word opportunity. The pediatricians historically aren't wired to take advantage of opportunities.
Sure,
You're wired to keep things safe.
sure.
But what you do for your patients and what you do as a business, those are two different things.
Yes,
And I'm pretty sure that you're at 4 locations right now. I'm pretty sure in the last year you could have easily been to 6, but you didn't take every opportunity because you were
sure.
smart about it.
Right.
And it wasn't because you weren't afraid of risk, but you considered it like a business person. And I think that's a tribute to the quality of your work and your success. So good for you.
Thank you.
Um, all right. Well, that's literally the gamut of questions I have for you today. I like to keep it easy, and I know you've got to see some patients. So thank you. You were awesome.
Happy to have a conversation with anyone, anytime.
Well,
about what
thank
I
you.
love doing, which is being a pediatrician. So,
And I love the fact that you love being a pediatrician. Anyone who knows me knows that's what I like. And just, I suppose this will date the podcast episode, but happy Halloween.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, happy to chat anytime.
All right,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
inviting me.
Thank you for listening. More information can be found in our show notes. Production and editing by Chip Hart, Ali Squires, and Chris Forleo. Music by Challenger C. I'm Mark Herney.